to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pate. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Hi, it's Adam here. You're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about reframing trauma, but also future worries. And I was working with a client that had memories that would haunt them about moments of betrayal or injuries or moments where people that they thought they could trust either rejected them or tried to damage their reputation. And these would haunt them and make them feel very stressed and very anxious. And they would also have thoughts about moments of horrible injuries like being impaled on railings or having a broken knee. And because of that, that would send their body almost into a shock response where they would start shaking and getting very anxious, and it would ruin their ability to concentrate or even sleep. These things were happening. Now, what this session does is it uses elements of nested loops and levels of dissociation. It has an element of staged dissociation, also known as the element of a phobia technique, but it's actually used here for trauma. And also submodality shifts. Submodalities is a term used in NLP to describe changing certain variables within a sensory predicate. So, for example, if it's a visual memory, it might be seeing it smaller or bigger, brighter or darker, color, black or white, zooming in, zooming out. And what tends to happen with clients is that when you change certain submodalities, it can dial down the emotional intensity pretty quick. What can also happen is a form of reframing where you give something a different meaning. And what I found working with this client is a lot of these horrible traumatic things that happened seemed to me as an outsider like lucky escapes. They found out who they can trust, who their true friends are. A relationship that didn't work out actually would have been a lot worse if they would have turned that into a marriage than if it just broke up at the point where it did. And even physical injuries, some of those injuries could have led to death, and they didn't. So by giving it the frame of lucky escapes or near misses, that's an empowering frame that actually they could interpret that as that they're now here for a reason. And this client was doing a very important job impacting people in very positive ways. And the injuries that they were worrying about don't have to be premonitions or warnings. They could just be scary thoughts that pop into their head, but they're not real. And again, when you give it a different meaning, like it's a prank, it's a misinterpretation, actually it's not even happening to them, again, it can dial down the emotion quite a lot. So if you have traumatic memories from the past or intrusive thoughts that feel quite scary, you might get some value from this session. Please be aware, though, that the specific suggestions are built for the client that I was working with, and they might not be so relevant for you. It's unlikely, for example, that you have intrusive thoughts about being impaled on railings or breaking a kneecap. That particular client I was working with did have those feelings. So you can just hone into any suggestions that are helpful, ignore anything that isn't quite right. And at the same time, if you like the idea of working with me directly, there will be a link in the description where you're able to schedule a completely free consultation call to explore working with me. That would be over Zoom. It's about 30 minutes long. I can explain how I work and how I price what I do. And then it may be the case that we end up working together. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that calm feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow your eyes to close if they aren't already, connecting you to that inward focus, where it becomes easier to focus on the sound of my voice. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And as you breathe in and breathe out, slow down the breathing. Deeper, slower, longer. And you might begin to notice a profound sense of calm starting to wash through your body, like a tide rolling softly over the sand. Almost like each breath creates distance between what was and what is, between memory and this moment. And you don't have to try to relax or chase relaxation. Just be open to allowing it to find you. A calm curiosity, expanding with every breath as your body recalibrates into a feeling of safety and security. And as your muscles relax, your mind begins to open like a lens, able to zoom in and zoom out, to focus and refocus. And maybe you're learning that perception itself is flexible, that old thoughts that are the same thoughts is not a prerequisite. Things can and do change. And I want you to imagine drifting to a place in nature, maybe a beach, maybe an open field, maybe a forest. But I want you to imagine there is a door there in nature, not connected to a building, just a door. And imagine that door will take you to your own private theatre. And you can notice the frame and the door and the material. And as I count down from 5 to 1, you will imagine what it would be like to put your hand on the handle, open the door, walk through the door, and down some stairs into your own private theatre. 5. Hand on the handle. 4. Turning the handle. 3. Opening the door. 2. Walking through the door. And 1. Closing the door behind you. And imagine walking down a staircase down into your theatre, where each step takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And as you walk down the stairs, feel that relaxation taking place. Feel that wonderful feeling of ever increasing relaxation. Almost like your nervous system is calming down, resetting, finding peace and balance. And then Imagine at the bottom of that staircase walking to a comfortable chair in that theatre. A private theatre, you have it all to yourself. It's dark, it's quiet, it's comfortable. And this theatre isn't for actors, it's for movies. To see that large screen in front of you. And on the screen ahead, old memories of what once were traumatic moments begin to play. Moments that once felt harsh, unfair, upsetting. But this time you're not in the film. You're watching it, calm, safely there from the audience. And maybe it's a memory of physical pain, like an accident. Or maybe it's a memory of emotional pain, like a breakup, a betrayal, reputation damage. But as you watch, you realize you're not just the audience. You have the control as to how you perceive this memory, this movie. And you can adjust the sound, dim the lights, even shrink down the screen to make it smaller. You can even pause it mid-frame if you wish. Change the perspective. You can even animate it, turn that memory into a cartoon. And as you observe, you start to realize these scenes are not happening to you anymore. They're just images, moving images, stories and echoes of moments long since past. Keep your physical body there in the chair, but then imagine your imagination floating up to the projection booth. And maybe you can see the projector like an old-fashioned projector with reels of film spinning gently, feeding the light through the lens. You have even more control now, even more than the director, because you can manipulate time itself. You can slow the memory down. You can reverse it. Or just snip away the parts that no longer serve you. I want you to imagine you are not just the director or the editor, but also with the power of special effects. And you can turn the scene into black and white, or bright colors, or something surreal. Or you can add music that completely changes the meaning. Introduce absurdity. And each time you do it, imagine scratching a CD of that old memory so that it doesn't quite play right anymore. And with each creative change, the emotional charge lessens. The body grows still, the heart slows down, and the mind remembers that these are just memories, representations of the past, not the past themselves. And now float up, as though you're rising through the ceiling of that theatre, drifting higher and higher, until you can see all the screens of your life playing at once. And maybe see every memory that you once considered traumatic, moments that once defined your fear of pain. things that led you to question whether you can trust other people. But from this higher place, looking down at all of those screens, you can see the through line connecting them all. A strand that connects all of these narratives. What if each one, a fork in the road, the point that created a parallel universe, but in your reality, each one was a lucky escape, a near miss, a gentle nudge steering you towards wisdom, experience, and resilience. And what once felt like punishment or unfairness or injustice could now be perceived as protection. What once felt cruel now seems curiously kind, because you got something from every one of those moments. Perhaps awareness, empathy, depth, or a level of wisdom only possible through experience. And I want you to imagine going up even higher, accessing a different dimension. And from even higher still, you become the witness. Not the body, not the mind, but the consciousness watching it all unfold. And here there is no threat, only understanding, only patterns revealing their purpose. And you see that your mind created certain warnings, not to torment you, but to protect you. They were the smoke alarm, not the fire. And now that you've learned to see them as warnings, not premonitions and not threats, your body can respond differently. No need to react. No need to feel fear, trepidation. They can quiet down, and you can thank them sincerely and allow them to rest. And now take on that perception from being in the theatre, and this time see on the screen not something that has happened, but just a thought that comes up every now and then. A damaged knee, or perhaps an accident. There on the railings, on that metal fence, and those same alterations you made to your memories can also be used with those thoughts of things that haven't even happened. Imagine zooming out, seeing that knee, like you're on the moon, seeing that knee from a telescope, and notice how it feels insignificant. Or perhaps imagine those railings, where the railings are not made of iron or metal, but soft rubber, or even marshmallows. I want you to see that when you change the content, the perception, and even the meaning, what once caused an intense, visceral reaction now dials all the way down to something harmless. I want you to imagine there in the theatre, looking at those thoughts through the eyes of Salvador Dali. Have certain things bend like a melting clock, or happen in strange, absurd, surreal ways. And as you do so, the thought loses all of its power. And I want you to get a feeling that where focus goes, energy flows. And you've only focused on a tiny glimpse of a thought, of what there is a tiny possibility of happening. But when you look at before and after, if in doubt, zoom out, you could see that these things could have entirely different connotations. Imagine seeing that broken leg, but it's not your leg, it's the leg of a mannequin. Or perhaps see that body on the railings and it's not you, it's an elaborate prank designed to fool someone. When you change the meaning, you change the emotions. When the past becomes a lucky escape, and a premonition of a warning becomes something silly and insignificant, you get to dial down all of those intense emotions. And I want you to imagine doing that now. Imagine seeing a dial, a gauge, a button of some kind that you can dial down the emotional intensity. You've extracted the wisdom from the past. But you don't need to hold on to any emotions. I want you to get a sense that because you've extracted the wisdom, you can dial down the emotions. And a warning is not a warning if it isn't real. A threat that was a joke misinterpreted had no real danger. Only the connotation made it feel that way. Because if your unconscious is trying to protect you, allow it to protect you in new, useful ways. And the best way your unconscious and body can help you is to help you sleep better, to dial down the amount of adrenaline and cortisol, to release you from a prison of fatigue and drained energy. Because when you are alert, energized and vitalized, you can mitigate risks more easily. You can make quick decisions to avoid undesirable outcomes. So ask that part that's been warning you, trying to protect you, if it's willing to protect you in a new way, by helping to quiet down that fight or flight response, enable you to relax and heal and rest. And in doing so, give you the clarity, the cognitive bandwidth to evaluate more genuine risks, not false alarms. And once that part agrees, I want you to see those traumatic thoughts changing all by themselves. A broken knee might see you stretching, see you exercising in a particular way. An image of you on a railings might mean you decide not to drive while tired or to avoid certain places. I want you to get a feeling that when you are alert and vibrant, bad things are more easily avoided because you retain all the wisdom from your past, and with it the ability to avoid previous pitfalls. And what if those near misses, those lucky escapes, were essential to protect your future self. And as you extract that gratitude, that feeling of being aligned with your intuition, then it's time to leave the space above the theatre, the projection booth, and even the seats, all merging to become one, all parts working to keep you safe, relaxed, and in that place of positive focus. All parts combined now start to leave the theatre, climb up the stairs, open the door, and find yourself out there in nature. And as you do so, feel that something has shifted. Less troubled by your past and less worried about your future. Feel resourceful, empowered, a new sense of ease and comfort. And then allow yourself to float all the way back to your present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And as you return, you realize this has been a journey within your imagination, a journey of thoughts within thoughts, dreams within dreams, and ideas within ideas. And as you return, connect and calibrate, start to feel more optimistic about the future, knowing that very soon you'll be sleeping better and feeling rejuvenated and energized once more, starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.